Thanks for coming, Nick.
Thanks for inviting us.
Is this your first Disrupt?
This is.
You came on a special day. This is my favorite day. It's all about hardware companies. And so out there in the hall, we have dozens and dozens of hardware companies like yourself, but with a little smaller valuation. So we're very excited to have you. And I have a whole list of very hard-hitting questions here. I have a notebook full of them, and we're going to get to those. But let's start with the most serious one. Nick, what's the coolest GoPro video you've seen?
I always get asked this question, and it stumps me because there are so many really incredible ones. I mean, one of the first that comes to mind is the dolphin video. A fisherman was off Santa Cruz fishing for I don't know what, and on the way back to port, he dragged a GoPro behind his boat to see what was following him. He thought he saw a dolphin or two back there, and then when he got home and he looked at the footage, he realized that he had, SeaWorld following him. He had like a pod of, I don't know, 10 or 12 dolphins that were playing behind the boat and dancing around for a really long time. And it looked like CGI.
Yeah, I did see that one.
Yeah, and it was really cool actually as we got into the story. He had actually built a torpedo to drag behind the boat to stabilize the GoPro. And you realize like this guy is really into filming with his GoPro. And he's capturing a perspective that very few, if anybody, had ever seen before. And that he used a GoPro to do it, and that he surprised himself by the world that was beneath his boat is totally in line with what we do at GoPro, which is help people capture their passions, but also capture new perspectives of life they've never seen before.
Yeah, sure. GoPro videos are used in TV and movies, and we have a couple even around here. What's that one scene you point to in a TV or movie and you say, I made that possible? What's your most proudest movie scene?
Well, I think one of the most emotionally, one of the scenes that affected me the most was, wasn't a movie, but it was Discovery Channel's broadcast of the Felix Baumgartner jump from near space, the Red Bull jump. And he was wearing one GoPro in each leg, a GoPro on his breather box on his chest, and they had several others in the capsule. And the footage from that is, I mean, you're watching a guy. It was poetic. He's standing at the edge of existence, jumping back down to earth. And that was one of the most moving things I've ever seen captured with it.
I watched that live. That was really
I started crying when I saw that.
Spectacular.
It was pretty cool.
All right, Nick. So GoPro, you founded that in 2002. How old were you at the time?
26.
26. Why did you start it?
Well, when I was 22, I promised myself until the age of 30 to make it as an entrepreneur. And I didn't even know what that meant. I thought of it more in terms of being an inventor and coming up with something. I didn't really think of the whole business side of it. How you have a great idea and then you have to build a business around it. And I hadn't really thought that far, but ignorance is bliss, because if I had thought that far and knew what went into it, I probably would have been so scared that I wouldn't have been able to go forward. But I failed at my first business, and I had...
What was your first business?
Funbug.com. In this day and age, it would have killed it. We would have done really well. It was a social gaming business, but there was no social. And we were ahead of our time, and I lost $4 million of other people's money from 24 to 26.
Sure.
Didn't take very long to lose a lot of money. And I had no inspiration for what to do next. So I decided to go surfing and pursue what I'm most passionate about, because I believe that when you're indulging yourself in your passions, hopefully your healthy passions, you're turned on and you're most creative, and ideas come to you. Ideas don't come to you sitting in a room thinking of a great idea. It never happens. They come to you out on the road, bumping into people and living your life passionately, and you find inspiration. And the irony was that in planning this 5-month trip around Australia and Indonesia, I actually came up with the idea for my business, which was a wrist camera that I could surf with to document my trip. And then the trip ended up being an R&D trip. And it was the first surf trip I was ever excited to come home from. Usually you're depressed, you're out of money, you got to go get a job and come home broke and move back in with your parents. But I came back to move in with my parents to start GoPro, and I was so excited.
So GoPro, how much capital did you use to start the company?
GoPro, while we've raised outside capital a couple of years ago, that was largely to build a stronger board and to improve our relationships and the network strength of GoPro. We haven't used that capital, and GoPro has been built on $265,000.
Just that. So where did all that money come from?
I saved up $30,000 from my first business, borrowed $35,000 from my mom and a sewing machine to make the very first GoPro, the strap. I hand sewed the original prototypes. I'm a horrible sewer, but $65,000 is what I launched the company with as a one-man band in 2014 with our first product. And then over the next couple of years to build inventory, my dear old dad lent me $100 grand here and then $100 grand there to build inventory. And we scaled the business off of that. And one of the ways that we did that, a secret to GoPro's success, people who wonder, how did you cash flow the business, was we learned early on that our international distributors would pay FOB Hong Kong, right? So they would pay when we would ship to them from Hong Kong. So we would, in the day, get paid by our international customers before we even owed the factory the money.
Right.
And we went against the grain, and we built our international business first because they would pay up front. And
That's
we
clever.
used the international revenue to build the domestic business, which is the inverse of what traditional business logic would tell you, which is build your domestic brand first and then take it overseas. But I don't know that that really works this day and age. You pretty much have to build globally quickly, or else somebody else will do it for you.
So what's changed in the last 10 years? You started internationally with the Chinese overseas manufacturing, and then you just took a big investment from Foxconn, $200 million at a $2.25 billion valuation, right? Mm-hmm. So what's changed in the last 10 years? Would you still start internationally? Would you start domestic?
I mean, it's tough to say. It has to do with what your product and your business is.
Sure.
I think in our category, I wouldn't change a thing, obviously. Mm-hmm. We've had a pretty good go of it. I think what's changed for entrepreneurs is the number of resources and the access to information and access to services that can help you realize an idea. There probably were services that I could have used to help me launch GoPro, but I never found them.
You didn't have Kickstarter?
No, and I was just talking to Eric at Pebble, and I wasn't aware the delta that they tried to raise 100 grand and then they raised 10 million, and I think I'm almost glad that didn't happen to me, because I wouldn't have known what to possibly do with that. And so I think our slow organic approach worked really well for us.
Sure.
It allows us to establish a brand, and which is really important in the activity vertical markets that we sell to: surfing, skating, snowboarding, auto racing. It's important to build a brand slowly, but then you look at Pebble, who their fundraising event really was their huge marketing event, and they've done a terrific job on capitalizing in that and turning that into a real business. So the slow bootstrapped story of GoPro, that strategy worked really well, and the turbocharged smoke and tires approach of Pebble is apparently working as well.
So when would a company take Kickstarter, the Kickstarter road, or when would you take venture money? What would be the two different? What's the difference between the two?
I think another way of answering that is, as long as you can bootstrap, not at the sacrifice of competitive advantage, meaning not leaving yourself open, not moving so slowly that you leave yourself to be eaten alive by your competitors. Bootstrapping is a really powerful thing because it allows you to be totally devoted to your vision and not have to deal with the pressures of investors to maybe realize milestones at unrealistic timelines.
Sure.
Or everybody has an idea over time of what the business should be, and when the business is going well, people leave you alone. But I think maybe during the formative period, too many opinions could be disruptive. And so I know it really helped GoPro that we didn't have to answer to anybody for years. I think an example is as soon as we could afford it, we bought a race car. And we went racing up at Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, and I learned how to drive a race car, and I became our chief R&D developer for motorsport.
When you're the founder, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, but if we'd had investors at that point, they might have questioned, is this really a great use
right.
of company proceeds? And in the end, it led to one of the biggest ideas that we ever had at GoPro, which was to get the camera off of the wrist and make mounting accessories so that you could use the camera, mount the camera in any way imaginable. And the way that happened was I was in racing school and they wanted to charge me a bunch of money to put a camera on the car, and I thought, that's crazy. I've got my wrist camera in my trunk of my street car. I went and got it, strapped it to the roll bar, and the light bulb went off, and it was literally like I could see GoPros mounted all over the place, and I got chills. And until then, we had been a little wrist camera company plodding along, and then that was a major hockey stick moment for the company that was totally inspired by climbing into a race car, which is not, what a board of directors would normally think was a great idea.
And now there are race cars with GoPros strapped all around it, all over the world. That's amazing. So Foxconn, let's get back to that. You took $200 million from Foxconn. It delayed an IPO, I understand. Were you going to IPO this year?
A public offering is something that I think is important for a company to be prepared for. It kicks your butt into shape as a business, and it's important, I think, that you're prepared because opportunity, luck is about being prepared for when opportunity presents itself.
That's a good line.
Right? And so it is true that GoPro is in the process of getting itself ready for an IPO.
Sure.
But we also have
So 2014?
Well, we have the luxury of not needing to, right?
You do.
This is a do we want to versus do we have to? And that's, a product of bootstrapping the business, and GoPro's success is totally organic. Our profit is totally organic, and it's nice to have these choices.
You've built this whole empire off one camera, which is pretty fantastic.
I mean, launching with, this was 2004, and to go from this to this, which is now the world's best-selling camera, I mean, this is dream time.
Yeah, sure.
It's all been a dream.
So what did Foxconn offer that you couldn't turn down?
Well, to build a relationship, a really meaningful relationship with the world's leading electronics manufacturer, and specifically with the world leader in that area of business, Terry Go, is, for an entrepreneur, especially a hardware innovator, is a dream come true.
So what's stopping, what are the barriers in place right now to prevent the United States from having a high-tech industry like Foxconn here?
Well, we have to relearn how to make things here, I think. But in terms of, I think it's actually, we're in a great place because the speed with which we can go from idea to realized product is getting faster and faster.
Yeah.
And what we've learned, at least at GoPro, what we've learned is overseas, they're phenomenal at taking ideas that we share with them and turning them into a physical product. But the use cases, understanding how consumers are going to want to use these products, doesn't come naturally. And so what I've seen is that just as, sort of like within a company, just as engineers need marketers and to understand maybe what's the market opportunity, but then marketers and salespeople really need engineers to actually build these products and make them real. And as a marketer, I'm grateful that this bifurcation of talents exists, because if engineers were also great salespeople and marketers, then I'd be out of a job.
Right.
And it's really like that's on a micro level, and on a macro level, you have I think the West and the East, and Asia needs us as much as we need them, and until their society and way of life, their daily life starts to match more of ours, I don't think that they're going to be quick to understand Western consumer use cases and desires to be able to build product on their own. So I think we're safe in that regard, and we need each other.
So Nick, last set of questions here. That's the big one. When are we going to see a GoPro Google Glass, a wearable action camera that you can put on your glasses?
I think what's going to be exciting is you're going to see more of these products working together. You already see it with GoPro and smartphones. Mm-hmm. And people often ask me, are you afraid of the smartphone? Is the smartphone going to hurt your business? And the answer is no. The smartphone actually is helping our business because it's killing traditional camera.
Let's cross that one off the list right here.
Yeah, and it's the smartphone is killing the traditional camera industry, which is opening up retail shelf space for GoPro and opening up consumer dollars for GoPro, because a GoPro is used in a totally different way than a traditional camera. And then beyond that, a smartphone makes for an incredible video remote control for a GoPro, right? Now I can preview and control my GoPro with my smartphone, play back my videos and share them directly from the smartphone, never needing to hook my GoPro up to a computer. And then you think of things like glass and whatnot, and the glass-like products become terrific heads-up, hands-free, remote-controlled devices for GoPros. And I think it's just going to become more and more enabling, and you're going to be able to use your GoPro in more versatile ways thanks to these complementary products.
What would need to take for Google Glass to be a serious competitor for GoPro?
Well, I think that devices like glass are going to do a terrific job over time of capturing your first-person perspective.
Sure.
Right, and that's what people first think of GoPro. They think, oh, first-person perspective. But go and look at the content that you see being created and shared with GoPros, and look at the perspectives that are, making up the content, and you recognize that this first-person view is one of hundreds of perspectives, thousands of perspectives, right? And that's really what GoPro is all about, is enabling the versatility, so that maybe on a Saturday I'm wearing it on my chest skiing. On a Sunday I'm chasing my kids around with my GoPro in my mouth. On a Monday I've got it, using it on my car. I'm hooking it up to a quadcopter to go do some flyby of my family at the park or what have you. Hooking up to the dog trailing behind the boat. The list goes on and on and on, and you realize that GoPro is the world's best-selling camera because of this versatility, because it is no one thing to any one person. And it's also the world's best-selling camera for professional production companies on a volume basis because of what enables them to do. So then you recognize that, and that GoPro's strength is in its versatility, and then you pull back up to a Google Glass, and you recognize that while that is very good for that purpose, it doesn't lend itself well to the world of GoPro, which is all about versatility.
And I'm pretty sure that a Google Glass cannot survive a free fall from space like a GoPro can. So I think you have that going for you.
Yeah, but give them time. You know, we're very careful to be very appreciative for the success that we have right now. But also, we still wake up scared every morning that, you know, we're smart, but we're not that smart.
Fear is powerful.
Yeah, fear drives you a lot harder than success does. So stay
And
scared.
with that amazing note there, to be fearful, our time is up, Nick. So thank you very much. Really do
Thanks very
appreciate
much.
it.